mandates. One could be an outbound client mandate where you request someone for work and they give you work, versus somebody else reaching out to you for work and you agree to do it. You give a price code, you give a proposal, and they agree to the amount. Okay, so that's an incoming query. Now, outbound queries have an issue because it can amount to solicitation of legal work most directly. And incoming queries, on the other hand, if they are, if you're not directly soliciting or indirectly soliciting them, but if you're only educating your clients, then it is a lot more safer. Okay. And incoming queries also have a likelihood of converting much faster, much more effectively, because the client or the potential client is already interested in knowing more about your service. Okay, now what our goal here is, to figure out how can we do this systematically so that there is a frequent influx of incoming queries. For that, we will need to take certain actions, and this work is not one-time work. It is continuous work and it requires repetition and consistency. In fact, if you do this over a period of time, you will start to identify many areas of improvement, and the volume of output you generate to in this system will increase, and that is what will lead to more incoming client queries. Now, remember this, that educating your target audience is not illegal. It is illegal to solicit your work, directly or indirectly, but you are always free to express your opinion on social media. You're free to educate your target audience through blogs or articles or handbooks or checklists. You're free to provide these tools. Okay. Now, one more thing to know. Post February, post March 15th or 22nd, when we had the lockdown imposed, now of course you have unlock guidelines in place. But the question is that since the lockdown, client building and development work has had to move completely online. Those lawyers who didn't didn't do this work online and relied on offline meetings alone have suffered. Okay, and the good part is that the lockdown lasted long enough to ensure that people got used to remote meetings. That means that you can now create a faster, more effective way to do this work online. Earlier, you'd have to follow a mix of online or offline work. Some people used to exclusively do offline, or some others would restrict to exclusively online activities. Now it's possible to have 100% online focus, okay, with only like occasional offline meetings. Now, some insights on what to do, okay, whom to target. One of the areas, so now let's look at who briefs a lawyer. If there's litigation work coming, let's say you are at the Supreme Court, okay, and you need to be briefed by someone. So you might have an a lawyer, a litigator with from another appellate court or from the High Court briefing you, okay, to file an SLP or to file a statutory appeal. Okay, so in that case, you'd have networked with lawyers. If you're a corporate lawyer, you will want to be briefed by an in-house counsel or the GC or the CFO. Okay, so again, the feeder network is of lawyers. Okay, now in today's world, I am inviting you to see this, that if you target business people directly and not restrict yourself to lawyers alone, your credibility and trust will increase. You will be able to reach out to a wider target segment. Okay, and you'll also be able to appreciate the problem more deeply. If you are just getting matters from lawyers, you will not be able to appreciate the pain point that the real business faces. You will say, okay, this is the problem, I will do this, I will give you such kind of advice, or I will draft this petition or file this, and this is what I'll charge. Versus talking to a manager about actual problem they face, like let's say an HR manager saying that employees are not respecting their minimum commitment period, or I am unable to handle attrition. These kind of real problems, or employees are are being poached by competitors. So when you get the briefing from a manager, a business person, somebody who's not a lawyer, the pain point looks very, very different. Okay, and I am saying that educating that segment, and even learning from that segment, can be very powerful. Now, learning from them and not showcasing your knowledge and expecting appreciation, this is important, because what happens is our usual turnaround time, we expect that somebody will come to us, we'll give an answer, which is going to be a quote, and it will close. And ask lawyers to do anything else, common response is that I need a professional to help me out with this. I'm not equipped to this. Okay. Now here's an input. We can use these interactions as an opportunity to learn from them. You don't have to close in one go. Okay. So you get an incoming request or a query from a potential client. Job number one is to get into the conversation. You can promote and market yourself, but don't, just expect appreciation. Don't just shut them down. Okay. Try to open a conversation. The next thing to do is that, if you speak to, let's say, 5 managers, if you speak to one manager, you'll realize there's a pain point. If you write about it, another 2, 3 will reach out to you. And then you will realize different aspects of the pain point. Now is an opportunity for you to write about the pain points, maybe possible solutions. You don't have to offer the solution fully, but write about their pain points and offer possible solutions that can work. Okay. Remember, offering a solution and implementing the solution are two different things. So don't worry about free advice at this stage. Write about their pain points, share it in the target group. So these communities will not be lawyer communities. There will be, let's say, HR manager communities, insolvency professional communities, CA communities, CS communities, CFO communities, bank finance manager communities, like that. Okay, are you getting the sense of the business person? So share these things that you write, your articles, your posts in such communities. Join those groups, attend events, and take speaking slots in those sessions. Okay, now what happens when you talk about these? You don't have to demonstrate gyan and insights. When you talk about these pain points, people will start to listen to you and they will want to interact with you way more. Okay. Then you can spend some time on creation of solutions. These solutions are quite different from what a usual independent practitioner or a law firm will offer. In fact, if you focus on a problem offered by a business person long enough, you will come up with a number of innovative solutions. What is innovative about such solutions? Of course, you will use your legal notices, your letters, and all of that. But the sequence and the steps and the methods you use will be very, very unique. Okay, the combinations will be unique. And so you will realize that very soon you have at least 3 to 4 unique offerings for a specific target audience facing a particular problem. Now, you will need to spend this time on creation of these solutions, and these are going to be unique, high value, and targeted towards solving a pain point, not just filing a petition or sending a notice, but solving a pain point that if this employee is going to leave you and work with a competitor, he's going to stop doing this, or you can take this action to initiate these actions against your competitor. He or she will stop poaching your employees. So, and that can have a 5 or 6 step plan. Now, so you need to spend time on creation of such solutions. Now, the road is long. What we expect is that we'll write one article, 20,000 people will read and appreciate us, it will go viral, and then they will come to us and we'll get 10 clients. This is what happens for us, and a lot of lawyers stop doing client development work the moment their first article doesn't work. And they realize also, that first article took 3, 4, 5 hours to write, another 2 hours to publish, and then follow up. And after they did that, they realized that they didn't get enough enough response. Now, these are the kind of lawyers who will stop promoting their work, because 3 hours, if they worked in their job or for a client and they build the client, then that would have amounted to a lot of money. Now, the deal is this, that if you want clients and you don't have clients, then you work 3 hours or 20 hours. If you can't make money, it is obviously not of much relevance. And also look at it this way, that the senior most people in a firm are the rainmakers, the managing partners who get the work. And they've spent in hours and hours of time trying to nurture relationships with clients, and they've really done a lot of unpaid work before they first got the matter from the client. Okay, so the really senior people are doing unpaid work, which they call client development activity. It's not useless activity. Okay, now, so what you need to remember is this needs to be done over a period of time, and for that you need to be consistent. Your efforts can't fizzle out, and you need to build a system. Sorry, there is some knocking working on. If you build a system, your effort is going to be a little lower, a lot more manageable, and it is going to be easier to repeat the work. Now, here are some actions to measure. Blog posts, guest posts, and LinkedIn activity. You can measure this, right? What happens now is people measure, मैंने एक article लिखा, but I didn't get a client. My article didn't go viral. These many likes I got. No, you can't do all that. What you need to measure is I wrote 20 blog posts in last 2 months. 5 of them were guest posts, and I've been putting up 2 LinkedIn updates every day. That you can measure. So every day before you go to sleep, you know that did I post twice or not. Every week you can track how many blog posts did I write. Did I write one blog post in a week, or at least one in 2 weeks? Okay, you need to know very clearly what you're going to measure so that you can identify progress. Otherwise you will say I've been doing a lot of hard work but not getting clients in return. No, so you have to measure the right actions. You're measuring this action. When you do it over a period of time, it may lead to a result. So we'll measure some of these actions over a period of time. Another thing to measure: YouTube videos or podcasts. Okay, audio podcasts are just as fine. Audio podcasts with a slide in the background also work. Okay, now these you can start your own YouTube channel and post those. Okay, you can take a guest lecture if you're a senior and you've got expertise in you've got some expertise in a particular area. You can take a guest lecture with Losico, or you can take a webinar with Losico, I mean, or you can put your own YouTube videos on your own channel. Okay, but this is an important area to measure. Organizing events. Now events can go virtual, they're fully gone virtual. Organize events of where you invite the audience of your target groups. So if your audience is going to be tech startups operating in the healthcare space, organize something for that. Organize something for health tech and invite 5 friends, 5 people who are working in that area in startups. Okay, if your target segment is going to be edtech, invite people working in that area. If your target audience is HR managers, invite HR managers. Okay, and create a small event. You can do it for 2 hours, 1 hour. Give each of them 10-minute speaking slots. Identify problem statements. Ask them how they solve these problems. You take a speaking slot also. Okay, so you can also invite 2-3 other lawyers with you in such a session where these lawyers also speak along with you. And what happens when you organize an event? There's a lot of admin work which you may not like, but you can palm it off with good planning to a junior. Okay, but the point is that if you do it, your network remembers you as the person who brought you together, who brought everybody together. So that means that you have a lot of leverage later to get in touch with people one-on-one and explore more future opportunities. Another way to do it, so you can identify some are high, very easy activities, some are more difficult, like an event may be relatively easier for people who like to speak to others. A handbook is something that you write, and it should be able to be useful and relevant to practical problems faced by a target audience. So you could create a handbook of 10 problems faced by CFOs and how to handle them. Okay, or think of any area of law. Handbook on data protection for operations managers or for CTOs. Handbook on data protection for CTOs. Okay, that kind of document you can create. Of course, you can compile 5 or 10 articles and compile this into the handbook. And now this kind of document can take some time to write. You may need to interview a few people before and research a lot, maybe study a course to be able to be familiar with the stream. But point is, once it's out, people will download it. Okay, people will use it. Another thing to use is diagnostic checklist. This is one of the best ways to generate work by saying that here's a free checklist to identify if you need a data protection audit or not. Okay, or if you need a legal audit or not. Give them 10 questions to answer. Okay, and these questions are not supposed to be on law. The law is what you know. These questions have to be on facts on their business. Do your apps work like this? Does the data flow through any third-party apps? Do you have agreements with them? Ask questions which they can look at or give to their COO and or somebody who is in the business team, and then they can get yes or no answers. Okay, tell them I can help you fill this checklist on a half-an-hour call. Okay, now that will give them an idea that do I need a legal solution or not. Okay. Now, this is a very useful and a high value and quickly result yielding tool. Another option is a discovery session or a requirement analysis where you talk to them and ask them carefully identified questions that prod them further on the situation they are facing and enable you to identify what their requirements could be. We, for example, undertake a detailed requirement analysis if any law firm or company requires customized legal training from us. Okay, Discovery sessions is something that is very common in business coaching, where a coach may give you a free session to identify which are your areas of improvement. You can also get a flavor of the coach's technique to identify whether you want to go further with the engagement. Now, lawyers can do this as well, where you identify what are the goals of the company and where they are going to require legal services. The most important, why this becomes more important, is because when a client engages you as a lawyer, they want to cap their costs, and they say that all legal work needs to be capped at 20,000 or 30,000. Now, when you do a discovery session or a requirement analysis, the good part is that you can identify the scope of the legal work and the sequence and the order of priority. And there's going to be no doubt about it, because you're going to be basing it on the client's priorities. The client understands how much work is there to be done, and then you can say, I can pace it out in 2 or 3 months, and then you can give a more tenable quote and a more tenable background working of the pricing. Another reason this really helps is that you can learn very specifically about the business of the potential client. At this point in time, the person is not your client, but you can learn a lot more about their business. Why is this important? Because this will enable you to identify their problem and create a service that they really, really need. If they don't really need something, it's not going to happen. As you know, in traditional litigation formats, you are used to the client needing the service, and then they come to you. Somebody is going to jail, I need a lawyer. I got a tax notice and there's a dispute with tax authorities, I need a lawyer. It's not like that every time, right? Sometimes people know that they need lawyers, but they don't know exactly for what and where. So this is where your requirement analysis helps. Now, these tools, no, it's very difficult if you are posting online and doing all this activity, then people will start writing to you. Okay, and you will want to cultivate, you will want to keep them engaged, send them information periodically, keep them engaged. So for this, what is necessary is two things. You need to have your website, and you need to have an email automation. It's called a mailing list, and various softwares are available for mailing lists like MailChimp or Auber, or there are many other softwares also. You can even use a default email automation plugin inside Wix. Wix is a tool to build your own website, and inside that you can also configure email automations. So the moment somebody comes on your website, after a disclaimer, they will agree to a disclaimer, then they will sign up for your this thing. They will put their details in and sign up for more news related updates and your knowledge newsletter. After they do that, then you can have a pre-programmed sequence of one is your any knowledge updates that you send, which could be live on a weekly basis. Then there could be an automation which you can put in, that on day one I'm going to send them this, a toolkit of 5-6 things. Day two, I'm going to ask them a question. Day three, I'm going to do this. Another day, I will send them a knowledge update, and I will let them know that if they want to speak to me, then they can schedule a discovery session with me. Okay, day four, something else. Like that, you can configure a long automation. And over and above that, on a situation basis, like someday you won an order in court, so, or in your favor, then you can write a new mail which is over and above that automated sequence to inform clients about what is happening, potential clients or your readers basically. So what happens is that they know what you are up to, and you're basically in front of their view, right? Like they're watching. Also keep in mind this thing, number of quotations sent out. Now this is going to be in the next session. Okay, this is going to be in this part, which scoreboards to maintain. This will go there. I will just come to this. So now, which scoreboards to maintain is very important, because you're not going to be measuring revenue directly, because it's a function of your actions taken over a period of time. And scoreboards are important. So you will take two parallel actions. One is action, second is scoreboard. Okay, scoreboards to measure volume of action. What is the volume of action? All these. How many blog posts in the last month? How many guest posts in the last month? How many posts on your LinkedIn account? How many YouTube videos in the last month? How many events organized? How many handbooks prepared? How many diagnostic checklists prepared? How many discovery sessions or requirement analysis conducted personally? And how many emails sent? Okay, that's going to be a scoreboard. Okay, you can also have the size of your mailing list as a scoreboard. Okay, Now, so number of incoming inquiries. This could be connected to this. Either you can measure one-on-one inquiries, people who personally write to you, people who respond to your emails, okay, and also people who sign up on your mailing list. So you're going to measure this. Number of interactions or steps taken to convert. So you will check how many people you could successfully get to agree to your service. You will measure how many interactions it took, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's no hard and fast rule on this. There's only one thing that I would advise you against. Don't expect your interaction to convert into a paid client immediately. Okay, unless somebody literally is dying or is in emergency need of your services. Okay, so even if it takes 10 steps, it's okay. Okay, so if it's 10 interactions or 8 interactions, you measure that. Length in days from step 1 to conversion. That is conversion to the first paid service. So step 1 means what? Step 1 means that from the time the person reaches out to you first, here, when the person first reaches out to you, from there to the whole nurturing, you will look at it that how many days does it take. So if somebody who gives you paid work basically somehow got into your email list, you will see, okay, this person got into my email list on this date. Before that, he had spoken to me once or reached out to me on LinkedIn. That means that LinkedIn date and then being on the emailing list, being nurtured, and then he may have got in touch with you after replying to an email, and then you would have given done a requirement analysis and given a quote, and then finally the person agrees to give you work, okay, and gives you the payment. Now, that is the time you need to capture from the initial part where the person reached out one-to-one. This is going to become an average over time. Like, for each client, you'll write this and then you will get an average number on your Excel sheet. This is going to be very important. Excel is important to use to measure all these scoreboards, okay? Then you will also measure average revenue per matter or average revenue per brief or whatever you call it, okay? This is important to understand that how much each service is worth. You will not measure your initial revenue from initial marketing activity or promotional activity or writing blog posts. All of that you can't measure, right? But you will measure time spent on those. How much time is spent on those activities. Now, how to grow your practice with this system? This is very important, right? So you'll need to increase the volume of actions above. All those actions I pointed out, you have to increase those. Now, to what is happening when you're increasing those actions is you will generate more inquiries. Now, if I ask you a question that should a person pay me who doesn't know me and has read about me, should they pay me 10,000 or 1 lakh, to get comfortable with me? What will your answer be? Should they pay? Is it easier for somebody to pay you 10,000 or is it easier to pay you 1 lakh? Answers on screen, right? So I want to add in some cheaper low margin services so that the entry point is lower. People can be quickly onboarded. And these services, I will make sure that they are process driven. A junior who's not very expensive, an intern, they can handle most of it and my time is minimized. So I would add low margin services, but traditional low margin services are trademark registration, GST registration, income tax registration, company incorporation. But there can be other low margin services, okay? Like you could have data protection trainings, competition trainings, raid preparedness trainings, okay? But those which are easy to build trust and which people can pay you 5,000, 10,000, you can give in a couple of hours and get done with. Okay, so those are low margin services, innovative because you don't want to do the same stuff that everybody else does because there's going to be a price war also. And you cannot say how you're unique. So it might be even difficult to build trust. So when you have innovative services which are affordable, the trust is easily built. Then the next step, because a lot of people get stuck here, they are only offering low margin services and they have clients, but they don't have enough revenues. So for that, you need to learn new high margin services. How are high margin services? Services where you can charge way more to a client, okay, in comparison to the time that you spend. How is that going to be possible? It's going to be possible if you're going to do work which is rare, more difficult, more complex, and in the market there are very few or no lawyers who can perform that work. Also, where the stakes are high or where the client really needs you to do it, right? There can be very complicated work for which the client is only willing to pay you 500. You can't do it, right? So where the stakes are sufficiently high such that it makes the client willing to pay you and the skills are rare and the matter is complex. Okay, these three things are important, right? That's going to be a high margin service for you. And you want to identify these as a matter of habit over a period of time. And you want to add newer and newer high margin services, because you're going to get new clients onboarded through your low margin services and through your outreach strategy, the strategy that we just talked about, blogging, LinkedIn posts, YouTube videos, discovery forms, email automations. Through that, you're going to move people from build trust and move people to start taking an initial service with you, which will be a cheaper one. And then for the real success, for profitability, all of that, you will look at adding new high margin services to increase average revenue per matter. What will this do? It will make sure that your client development efforts initially, which were very painful, right? They are worth it, because you have enough high margin services later to offer clients. Okay, so then the job is that you will have to build a process which moves clients from the lower end of the value chain to the higher end of the value chain. And if you notice what you've been doing this throughout, moving them from free to lower end of the value chain, which is paid, to a highly paid end of the value chain. Now for this, what happens is that sometimes people don't have enough skills to deliver the work. Okay, to that extent, you can learn those skills wherever you need. Okay, so if you are a regular civil and criminal trial litigator and you realize you want to work on commercial disputes, you can learn arbitration or international commercial arbitration. A client has come to you for contracts work and you're a litigator, you can learn contracts work. Okay, there's a white collar matter and you're a corporate lawyer, you can learn criminal litigation around it. Okay, so you will always, if you need to deliver, the question is whether you are going to do the work and what the service is worth. If a client is demanding the service and you want to be a successful lawyer, that means that you will have to offer services that are in demand to clients. Then learn those. It is not in question that you don't know the service so you won't provide it. No, that cannot happen. You've got to provide it. Okay, why? Because, well, that's why you're being a lawyer, right? So if you remain a lawyer within your comfort zone and then you say I'm not getting clients, then there's no answer, right? Because the market is always evolving and people are approaching lawyers for very changing needs. So we need to continuously reskill. Now, another theme I wanted to touch in this process is where to take the help of a junior or interns and which actions to delegate. One of the things to start off with is to create a fixed posting schedule. Okay, that I'm going to do this much every week. Like I'm going to do 3 webinars a week. Okay, or I'm going to do 1 webinar every day from Monday to Saturday at this time. Okay, so create a fixed schedule and then you'll need to tell them that please follow this. Take me in, make sure I do it. So every day at 5 p.m. if I'm recording a video, give me a call, set up a recurring Zoom meeting, put it on my calendar so that we do this. Okay, and then you got to stick to it. You cannot tell the intern that today I'm not prepared. You have to prepare. If you're not prepared for the meeting, prepare in that time, record your video or write your post and get it done with. Now you will find out that you and the intern or the junior will need to learn some basics of recording and editing. Okay, so you might need to maybe get a better mic or a camera or learn some basic editing. So you don't need to make Netflix type 4K video. What you will need to do is do some basic timeline editing. You can use Filmora or Camtasia or inbuilt phone softwares. One thing to follow is that you should not rehearse, like you should not make your videos scripted. Like this webinar, I've made a PPT, but it's not scripted. Okay, so if you realize that you're not confident, record it 2-3 times and you'll realize that the third take will be the whole take which will be useful. Okay, I've recorded several videos like this and I've noticed that it is way more effective when the video is natural. But it may not be like this that you record the best video in your first take. You might find yourself to be nervous or to be unsure. You may not have a structure, but a lot of it can be developed on the fly with practice, and that's easier than editing a video to the T. Okay, so record 2-3 times. The third time would be the best. So it's a lot more candid and a lot more in flow, and then edit. For that, you can use these softwares if you need. Then when you upload on YouTube or when you upload on Instagram or when you upload on LinkedIn, It's not just the video, which is everything. You'll need to add enough description, maybe a link to your website, a title to the video, which is in the language of the target audience, not yours. So you can't say that recent Supreme Court judgment allows this. No, you have to say that what this means for XYZ category of clients. Okay, does this make investment arbitration difficult or easy? Whatever, but it has to be for the target audience. So add SEO titles and descriptions. There's nothing technical about it. Most of this is going to be intuitive if you go by the language of the client. Okay, if you use Wix to build a website, they will ask you to put in terms for SEO of your legal practice, and you can put in general terms like civil litigation, arbitration, but this stuff can be learned by an intern or a junior. Use audience friendly language, not statutory jargon. Some best practices: you will need to learn how to repurpose content on all your accounts, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You will need to develop and update your website frequently. You can't have a 1 week or a 2 week updation cycle that I told this to my developer, now he's going to update it when he can. That's not possible. Like, it's going to hurt your growth. So what you want to do is that if you decide you need this updated in a day, it should get updated, and you can teach a junior or an intern to do this. Okay, and you can use Wix to build quick plug and play sequences for your website, or a process for quickly updating your emails, all of that. Okay, now remember this, that real content is always way more important than special effects. So don't get stuck up in design. Some design is good. If you don't have any design, it's fine, as long as you've got real content in place. So don't say I don't have a professional designer, I don't have a professional editor. No. And all this work is possible in a remote environment. So you don't have to wait for things to open to normal. You can do all of this electronically. Now, how to implement this method? You may need to learn high value skills to perform complex work. Those of you who are interested can let us know. And you can figure out how you can use, we can help you figure out if the master access or our libraries may be of help to you. Okay, because work is increasingly become complex, whether it is technology contracts, technology laws, arbitration, banking, finance, recovery work, all of this is becoming more interdisciplinary. Okay, so you're having sometimes a corporate lawyer to work on disputes, a disputes lawyer to work on commercial contracts. That is happening frequently. Then if you want to implement the system hands-on, okay, so then you can use the legal practice management course to actually figure out how to build the different elements spoken here into your system. Now, law students or juniors who want to build their own practice, or they want to help their seniors, again, they can do this. Okay, if you want to learn writing skills to get paid research internships, this is critical. You can either use the legal practice management course for practice development work, or if you just want to help with content development and writing work, then there's an introductory course on lawseco.com on legal writing for blogging, paid internships, knowledge management work, and research and editing jobs. Okay, now people say that research internships, I've been hearing this, that research internships are not useful, it doesn't give you a sense of the real work. That is nonsense, because when you start to actually perform work for a senior, they're going to rely on your existing knowledge, or they're going to rely on what they know about your capability. If you've done research internship with them for 3 months, your skill will develop more and you will be able to contribute to them, so they'll trust you more with other work. Second, your relationship gets more powerful, your network develops, and you use this for your work experience, provided you've been working at the research internship. So there is no doubt that research internships are incredibly helpful for you. Okay, those who want to hire juniors or interns for support, you can write to our LawSeco placement team, and that will help. You can write to placements@lawseco.in, and they will help you find juniors or interns for support with such kind of work. Okay, with that, I have completed my presentation, and I want to start discussing one-on-one your questions and doubts, and I want to interact with you on how you think that you can implement this method, and how many of you are lawyers, law students. Because if you're a law student, you can help a senior implement this, or you can help them with writing work. If you're a practicing lawyer, in that case, you have the option to just directly use this to improve, to increase your existing clients. and we can revisit parts of the presentation to see what you can optimize. So do you all want to have so any questions that you all have? To what extent, think of this also, that to what extent are you currently applying this in your practice? Have you implemented some of these suggestions? Where is a scope for improvement? So I'm waiting for your questions on the Q&A or the chat box. I got a question. Rituraj, what is your question? How to handle clients from out of state? So you can use the processes I mentioned on Zoom. So talk to clients over Zoom, potential clients over Zoom meetings. Perform. So it doesn't matter whether they give you paid work or not. At one level, initially, it's important that there's some exchange of energy and some kind of value and direction is given to them. Okay, that's from the client's perspective. From your perspective, it is important that you are moving them step by step towards paid service. To do that, you have to build trust. Okay, which happens once you're giving them the right idea or some kind of direction. Next thing is that you have to help them identify what's most important for them and what they need now. Then you need to make them appreciate the value of that. That is the X service that you are saying is what is the value of that. Then they trust you already, right? Then you have to tell them that this is worth this much and I can do it for this much. But you have to tell them that uh, what would what is the right way to do this service? What are the top mistakes people make with these services? Okay, that will make them appreciate why you are the right lawyer for them. Okay, and that's when you can send your quote. Now in this process, what happens is that how do you deliver value to them? So that is where you use this process where I shared about the checklist, the the checklist and the requirement analysis. Okay, that is used to deliver value. For trust building, you can send them emails over a period of time, and when people see that you've been active in that space for over a long time, long time means 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, they start to trust you uh, and believe what you say. Rituraj, does this get addressed for you? Okay, Sushil, I'll just do it. You are asking me to repeat the part on whether to charge 10K or 1 lakh. Yeah, so from a first time client, would you charge 10,000 or 1 lakh? Who doesn't, who is new to you? They've seen you, they've seen your online presence, but they are not fully sure whether they can trust you. To be able to make it easy for them to avail of services from you, even if you give them a broken down or a simplified service, it is important that you have an escalating ladder where you start services with 10K. Okay, even though the best thing that you do is at 1 lakh, you want to give them some taste of that quality at 10K. So you can give a smaller service or a part of a big service. Okay, or you can give a training, a very innovative training on a new area of law. Okay, Sushil, I hope this helps. Let me know. Rituraj, they just want to get idea dispute what is stage we can charge them. I didn't understand this. You will charge them, you will only give them a quote at the end when you're clear what they need, they are clear what they need. You've helped them sequence on how this is going to be helpful for them. You know how much it is of value to them. You know what will happen if they go to someone else with that service. Okay, all this is ironed out and there's no other option. Then they will say, okay, what's your quote? And then you will give the quote. Okay, and then there will be a conversation on pricing because they'll say, what is the discount? Why is it so much? And then you'll again explain that, the real cost of the service is this. These are the risks if you go for a cheaper service. Usually lawyers will not do A, B, C, D. You can ask somebody who's giving you a cheaper quote whether they will do this. You will realize whether this is going to happen or not. That will build that kind of trust with you. Okay. Now, Rituraj, does this help? Naju, when an advocate cannot advertise, how can I make my presence in online world apart from blog website? So There's a lot of stuff. There's podcasts, there's online events, there's blog, website, videos. Okay, all of this is there. So there's enough you can do except for paid ads. Okay, except for doing Facebook ads and Google ads, you can do all LinkedIn ads, you can do everything. And don't ask for work. Okay, but you can educate your client. So do everything necessary to educate. If you can do an event, I mean, what is what is bigger than an event, right? And I said organize an event. Most lawyers don't think of an event. Maybe like just see how you can create an event where people come. 10 minute speeches. Two other lawyers, or one lawyer, one CA, one CS, and all other members of the target audience to an event, to a weekly event. Okay. Rituraj, you can create a consultation model where you charge like 500 or 1000 for a 15-minute consultation. That's also a way to capture clients, but that's a good model too. Okay, but you will need a combination of models to work on this. Sushil, I hope your question is answered. Then I'm moving to Venkat's question. How to implement these ideas in tier 3 towns where civil criminal litigation is the usual norm and not many companies or industries are present to do contract related matters. Look, in tier 3, usually you will have some industry or the other. Either you will have startups coming up, or you'll have some SMEs which are there, or you will have manufacturing industry which has its corporate or head office uh, in the main city, okay, in the head office, but they have their manufacturing office or factory in tier 3 town. Now what you need to do there is that there are two advantages. Now you can catch local work and you can catch all national level and global work, and being in a tier 3 town will give you a pricing advantage that others will find it hard to match. So, Venkat, you can share the name of your town or city where you are, and think about this, that if you just search for startup and the name of your town, or companies name of your town, or SMEs name of your town, or go to Startup India and look at the list of registered SMEs and startups, and then find out which are the companies in your town, you will find many. I have looked for every possible town and found that there are. Now what may happen is that you don't think legal work exists in those, and they may not know, but when they meet a lawyer and when you do something like a requirement analysis, you will identify that there are many loopholes or many risk areas or many points which could be addressed through contracts. Okay, you might be able to advise them on improvement of their business model, for which you can create new contracts. Okay, that work no lawyer does, because lawyers are working on the premise that when somebody comes to me with a legal problem, I give a solution, even if it's a contract. But where here you will be actually responsible for generating the work, and that level of insight is also possible, and you will be able to do that provided you look at it that closely. So just make sure you do those meetings with those people, and you will find the names of the promoters even online. So that's not going to be so hard. Listing on yellow pages, if you're not putting an ad, is fine, right? Sushil, there are so many websites which are listing websites for lawyers. The problem with listing websites is that a potential client cannot appreciate or differentiate you from somebody else. That is the biggest issue. So to be able, that's why I'm saying that you need this whole system of website, email sequence, videos, blogs, so that if somebody visits your profile, they understand exactly what all you've been doing to demonstrate your thought leadership and for your track record. Naiju, offline versus online, which is more effective for marketing based on your experience, Naiju? So I am a firm believer in online, and offline sometimes used to be necessary to give a real feel to the interaction, but lockdown has clearly dismissed any such concerns. Most industries where there was no online work have gone online, whether it is coaching, therapy, fitness. In fitness also, the number of live Zoom workout sessions has exponentially increased. Okay, that used to not happen earlier. Earlier you could have pre-recorded videos on apps. Now there are live workouts. So everything has gone online, and online has some advantages because you can target better, you can create more content, it can store and get indexed on Google for search results. So offline, if necessary, you do it for basic work, and you should do it at the, like, it's not of keeping the heart, as offline is going to be problematic because your clients nowadays can be all over India. or all over the world. So how do you do offline with them, right? Unless you're traveling, you're in a particular city, you can organize a meetup and make it offline there. But online would have been leading the way in each situation. So online must be there, and offline plugs into it wherever possible. Okay, earlier it was only offline. Now you can change it to this. Makes sense, Nigel? Okay, any other questions? And what about your feedback on this session? Which are the parts you can apply? Which are the parts you can optimize? Are there things you're already doing? Would you like to share any one learning from this? Is anybody, lawyer or law student, interested in a further conversation on how to increase your skill sets for, or how to figure out how to get research jobs and internships, or how to add new high value services to your profile? Let me know if any of that, if you have any of those questions. Also tell me like what your feedback is on the session. Were there parts you think you can implement? I'm waiting. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Rituraj. Anybody else has feedback? Okay, great. So Siddharth, you want to pursue PhD or can help you out separately in PhD? You can reach out to our team. Okay, write in a mail to um, Asta@lossico.in. She may be able to connect you with someone in our team. Um, Thank you very much, everybody. Stay tuned, and I look forward to interacting with all of you in